Today is all about psoas love. So I have my spine model here, and we have lumbar spine, thoracic spine, and cervical spine. And your psoas is one of your hip flexors, and it's a major, super big muscle that two muscles, one on each side, and it T12. It attaches at T12, which is right at the back of your rib cage, right in the back there. That's where its main attachment point is, and then it goes across and attaches to your femur. And then not only does it attach at T12, but then it also has attachments from all of your lumbar vertebrae and discs, all coming this way and forward. It's a giant muscle, and it is often shortened from sitting for long times. Just like we were talking about chest muscles shortening, your hip flexors often are shorter because we sit all the time. Also, it's a major muscle for storing stress, wonderfully enough, because you need your hip flexors to be able to run away and to curl up into the fetal position to protect yourself. So it's one of the muscles that really gets engaged in the parasympathetic fight or flight response. Let a couple people in. Admit. Okay. So a lot of us store our stress in our psoas gets tight um, from sitting and from storing stress in your psoas. It's one of the common muscles for storing stress. Your psoas, sometimes people exclude, sometimes your trapezius, sometimes your jaw, but the psoas is a contributor. It's like a one of the trees in the forest, but it's a big tree. So we're going to focus on the psoas today, and I would love it if everybody would start on their backs. And first thing we want to do is relax the psoas if we can. So to try to release it, there's 3 steps to working your psoas. The first is passive release. And if you have a chair or a couch or a coffee table or a sofa nearby that you could put your legs on, go ahead and do that. That'll feel better than just having your legs on the ground. But if you don't have a chair or whatever, just put your feet on the ground, and if you can, flop your knees towards each other to try to not use any of your muscles to hold your legs up. So I'm going to grab my chair back, and we're going to be here for a couple minutes, and I'm just going to talk to you. But as we are here, let's see if we can allow whatever your calves are on, whether it's the sofa or your bed or a chair, to sink in a little bit. Maybe let your back sink in. And I'm going to actually put my hands on my lower ribs, upper belly area, so I can start to notice my breathing. And I can feel my hands and my belly rise and fall, but I'm going to really try to work on expanding my lower ribs as well. And the first sensation I'm going to look for is seeing if I can expand into my side ribs. I get some movement almost horizontally. And I'm also going to think about trying to expand into my back body or my back ribs. The image is to breathe like a jellyfish, a 360 breath expansion. And if you just feel the bottom of your ribs all the way around, that's where your diaphragm attaches. And then at the back, at your spine, it's your diaphragm and your psoas. And so if you can breathe into this back area, it helps to relax and release some of the tension that you store in that psoas. And before we try to stretch it, we're going to try to chill it out a little bit from its state of perpetual contraction. And so, this whole practice today, we're going to try to maintain these deep, even breaths, to breathe like a jellyfish, and particularly focusing on these areas that we might traditionally neglect, like our sides and our back ribs. So I'm going to move my chair away. You can scoot back, and we're going to try lying just flat. Arms at my side. And then I'm going to start to add movement to my breath. And the breath that we're going to do is just inhale and arc your arms overhead, so as far as they'll go. And then exhale, arc your arms down back by your sides. And really try to have your breath match your movement and your movement match your breath. So our movements are going to be in super slow-mo. The end of my inhale should be my arms overhead. And the end of my exhale should be, my arms should be touching down. I'm going to let someone in. You keep going. And we're going to add on and bring your right knee into your chest area and grab it with your hands on the exhale. Then inhale, lengthen everything out again, and alternate. Bring your left knee in on the exhale and inhale. Lengthen everything out again. And notice how it's hard to coordinate, or at least it is for me, my arms with my legs to match the end of my inhale. Alternate legs on your exhale. And then on your next exhale, you might add lifting your head towards your knee, if that feels right to you or feels good to you. And still trying to match inhales with exhales in movement with breath. Extend everything on the inhale and bring everything towards the center on your exhale. And if you mess up, just notice and see if you can do it a little better the next time. And one more. And then bring both knees in and you don't need to raise your head. Just give yourself a little bit of a self massage, whatever feels good for you. And then both feet on the ground. And we're going to do a variations of bridge. So my feet are on the ground, my arms are by my side, and we're going to arc our arms again. And as we arc our arms, I'm going to lift my hips. So my inhale, lift my hips, bring my arms overhead, and exhale, lower my arms and lower my hips. And it's interesting to try to sync these two things up when your hips don't move as much. Your arms move a lot. Do your best. And maybe even try to notice how your body feels, whether you are raising your hips high or low or in between. There's no right way to do it, except do try to engage your glutes as you lift your hips. Try to engage that back body to strengthen muscles that often are underused because our bodies like to rely on that psoas muscle. On your next inhale, leave your arms overhead, and then on your exhale, lower your hips, leaving your arms up. And then on your inhale, raise your hips up again. And then exhale, lower your arms and hips together. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale, raise your arms and your hips. Exhale, leave your arms up and just lower your hips. Inhale, raise your hips again. And exhale, lower your arms and your hips. Inhale, raise both your arms and your hips. And then exhale, leave your hips up and arc your arms back down. Inhale, arc your arms up, keeping your hips up. And exhale, lower both your arms and your hips down. Again, trying to focus on engaging your glutes and other muscles in your back body. Let's do this again. On your next inhale, raise your arms and your hips. If your breath is different than mine, then just follow your breath, right? Exhale, arms down, leave your hips up. Inhale, arms back up, hips staying up. And exhale, arms and hips back down. Cool. And let's just windshield wiper our knees and add breath. Inhale to one side and exhale to the other side. Doesn't matter which way is which breath, just trying to link our breath with our movement. And one more flop each way. Good. This time we're going to bring your heels towards the ceiling, like you're trying to step on the wall or ceiling, sorry. And stretching your back body, stretching your calves, stretching your hamstrings. And one of the ways to accentuate that stretch is to flex that feet. So thinking about the heels on the wall. Then arms by our side, and we're going to inhale and arc arms overhead. And then exhale, bend your knees and give yourself a little bit of a hug. Inhale, straighten your legs and arms overhead. Flex those feet. And exhale, bend your knees. Inhale, straighten your legs, straighten your arms. And exhale, bring everything together. Inhale, last one. And exhale, grab your knees. And then wiggle what needs to wiggle. And then let's rock and roll up to sitting so that we can get into tabletop. So hands and knees. Wiggle anything that needs a little bit of a stretch from here. And then check in with your alignment, or your knees underneath your hips, or your feet parallel to each other behind you, or your shoulders and elbows and wrists stacked up. And then we'll start moving and breathing. So on your next inhale, point your chest forward a little bit and drop your belly. And then exhale, rock back either to puppy or child's pose or variation for a lower back stretch. And then inhale, drop your belly, lift your chest, heart forward, some people say, and then exhale, rock back. Whatever feels good for you. And let your breath guide you. So on your inhale, beam your chest forward, and then your exhale, stretch your lower back. I'm going to let somebody in. You keep going, matching your breath with your movement. And then on your next inhale, stay in in tabletop and don't move on your exhale. And then just take your right leg and straighten it behind you. So just doing it, toes are on the ground, and I'm pushing my heel back into the wall to try to give myself a calf stretch particularly. And maybe other things are stretching as well, but really trying to focus on stretching that calf muscle, which often gets tight when your psoas is tight. And still trying to maintain those long, deep breaths that we started off our practice with. And when you're ready, go ahead and lift that right leg and try to keep your hips parallel to the ground. So a little bit of a challenge now. Again, focusing on that back body to try to engage some of these muscles that get neglected when our psoas overworks. And if you want to dip a little bit more challenge, go ahead and add your left arm. And if you're accepting the challenge, then notice how that affects the quality of your breath. Did it get a little bit choppier? Is it still as deep as what you had at the beginning? Just kind of notice. Reach through your fingertips and your heel. Check in with your torso. Think, maybe even feel, see if your hips seem to be level. And then one more inhale and exhale, come on down. Wiggle anything that needs wiggling or go back into child's pose as a little bit of a counter stretch. And then come back into tabletop so we can switch sides. Starting with left leg extended, toes on the ground, heel reaching toward the back wall for your calf stretch. Again, try to breathe into your side ribs and your back body, your back ribs. And when you're ready, go ahead and lift that left leg, trying to keep your hips parallel to the ground. A lot of times we have a tendency to raise the extended leg or the lifted leg. Notice what that does to the quality of your breath or the smoothness. If you want to add additional challenge, add your right arm. And see if you can still breathe like a jellyfish. And one more breath here. Come on down and come into child's pose or whatever you need for a counter stretch. Beautiful. Okay. Then we're going to come onto our bellies and go ahead and pillow your head into your forearms. I'm going to check something here. So lie on your belly. And breathe into the floor. And see if you can breathe into those side ribs in the back. And then we're going to do variations of locust, which are wonderful strengtheners for to counteract the sitting that we do. And the first thing we're going to do is arms by our sides again. And then just lift your head and your chest on your inhale and lower back down. Try to relax your shoulders on the exhale. So inhale, lift your head and your chest, maybe bring your shoulders back, and exhale, let everything go. Notice what's engaging in your back body. See if you can recruit your glute. Inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. And we're going to add a leg. So on your next inhale, lift a leg. Try to get that air underneath your knee. Doesn't matter how high you go. And exhale, lower. And then alternate. Lift the other leg and chest and lower. Inhale, lift leg and chest. Exhale, lower both. And alternate, having your breath follow your movement and your movement following your breath. And if you mess up, notice. And try to do it a little better next time. See if you can breathe into your back and side ribs. And finish out whatever cycle you need to do, whether you started with your right or to your left. And then we're gonna, if it's okay with your body, lift both your legs and your chest and lower. And next time you lift them, hold them up on the exhale, maybe lower them halfway on the exhale, and then inhale, lift a little bit higher, and your exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower halfway. And then one more lift and exhale, lower. Let everything go all the way down to the ground. And pull your head again and maybe shake your hips from left to right to try to release some of these muscles that you may or may not use all the time. We're going to do one more exercise. This time it's just going to be our legs. You can stay with your arms pillowed, or if you'd like them by your side, better. Either one, it's fine. You're just going to lift your legs, both of them, and then widen out to a V on your inhale, and exhale, bring your legs together. Inhale, make a V, and exhale, legs together. And following your movement and your breath, just skimming the ground. Recruit your glute. And one more inhale, one more exhale, and then go ahead and lower, release everything, and maybe give yourself a shake. Some big breaths into that whole area. And go ahead and come back into child's pose or puppy or whatever stretch that feels right for you. And then stand on your hands and knees. We're going to just do a little bit of alignment idea. And the challenge is to keep your ribs stacked over your pelvis, and meaning try not to flare your ribs or thrust your ribs forward. Try to keep them stacked on top of each other. And this is definitely a Pilates move. They always try to say maintain this particular distance, but in yoga they don't particularly care about this particular distance. But for this psoas idea, let's really focus on keeping this alignment where your ribs are over your pelvis and you're trying to keep that distance relatively the same. If you lengthen, it should be telescoping your whole spine up as opposed to just creating more distance in the front, right? So it's trying to keep that distance the same as opposed to doing a back bend. And when you, because try it out, we'll see different things, but when you do the back bend, you stop stretching your psoas. So I'm going to start with my left leg forward for a low lunge. And I'm really not flexible in my psoas. That's where I store a lot. So my lunge is going to look pretty much like this. I'm going to try to keep these stacked up and lean forward. Feel it in my quad, my hip flexor. And then I'm gonna leave my left hand on my ribs to notice and see if I'm stacking my ribs over my hips. And then I'm going to add my right arm in the arc, inhaling it up and exhale down. If you need something underneath your knee, go ahead and add a little bit more cushion. And notice how arcing might change the stretch into, you might start to feel it in your abdomen, your belly area. And on your next inhale, hold your arm up on the exhale as well. If you want to add your other arm, please do. Just try to maintain that stack. And just try to breathe into your lower rib area. One more breath here. Go ahead and release. Good job. Oh, if you need any kind of little stretchy poo, do that. And then we're gonna actually down dog often is a really good one for a puppy or a down dog as a counter stretch. Have nice movement in it, and then we'll switch sides. So that was left leg forward, so right leg forward, hands on your ribs and your hip points, which are the first bony bit you come to. Try to stack them up, and then try to go into your lunge. And then you can play around with it. Notice what happens if you add that back bend and what happens in your um, hip flexors. And we're going to add left arm in the arc. So inhale and bring it up. And exhale down. Then on your next inhale, leave it up. If you want to add that second arm, do, but try not to suddenly flare. It's perfectly good to flare, but it's not, it doesn't isolate the stretch and the psoas, which is what we're trying to particularly focus on right now. One more breath here. And go ahead and come on out. Maybe come into down dog. Walk your dog, stretch. And then bring your feet towards your hands or your hands towards your feet for forward fold. Again, have a nice, gentle forward fold that stretches whatever you feel like needs to be stretched. And then come to half forward fold and a couple more breaths here. Notice the stretch in your back body, your calves and your hamstrings. And then forward fold again for just one breath. Inhale, stand up, arms up. And exhale, mountain. Okay. From here, we're going to notice the stacking again, because when we bring our arms up, so many times we arch and lift our rib cage, bringing our arms up. Let's try to keep that distance the same. Notice how that changes. So, and then add standing on tippy toes. I almost feel slouchy when I have try to keep that distance the same. as I try to stand tall. I'm going to add on to a different mind challenge. Inhale, keep my right arm halfway, left arm all the way up, and then both of them down together, and then alternate. Inhale the left arm halfway, right arm all the way up, and then down. And do it again, alternating. Maybe feel length on the side that's rising all the way up. Awesome. Yay. One more, just traditional sun breath and down. Okay. The rest of our standing sequence is warrior one, warrior two kind of stuff. I'm taking my socks off, and I think you should too if you still have them on, because when you're doing standing poses, it's pretty awkward. So I'm going to take a giant step forward with my left foot, dropping the back foot, shifting the my torso towards the front. But now, instead of having my ribs forward of my pelvis, I'm going to try to rein that in and bring my ribs over my hips. So a much more vertical torso than you might normally have in this position. And we're going to add arm arc. So we're going to, on our inhale, I'm going to drop into my lunge, and exhale, I'm straighten my leg. And thinking about if you need to have your arms here to see, you might have a little bit of a flare, but try to keep it a little bit reined in. Then on your next inhale, hold in your lunge and really try to breathe into that lower rib cage area. And then one more inhale, and then warrior two. And again, maybe reach down and feel, am I forward or back, or forward or back? Try to stack your torso, your ribs over your hips, and add your arms. And notice how that just might not, maybe this is how you always do it, but notice what it feels like to stack the ribs over your hips. Go ahead and straighten this front leg, and we're going to move into triangle. With this psoas idea, I definitely need a block or a chair because I'm particularly tight. So triangles, straight legs, arms into a T, reach forward, and then stack your shoulders. So notice what's happening if you're forward or back. Try to keep them in the same kind of plane, but then really open up and breathe in between your ribs. When you do this, you might be stretching things that you don't normally stretch because our bodies get into habits and patterns. And so just notice if this is different or the same as what you always do. And we're going to accentuate it by bringing our arm over our ear. Really feeling it. At least I am. And we'll pulse it a couple times. So reach on your inhale and exhale. Bring your arm back either to your hip or behind your back. And inhale, extend your arm, and exhale, Bring it back. And one more inhale, extend, and then bend your front knee. And we'll just come on up and switch sides. I'm going to need my blocks. So first is warrior one. So that's going to be a back foot in, uh, dropping into a lunge. But before I drop into my lunge, I'm going to try to stack my hips over, under my ribs, and then adding breath when I inhale, drop into my lunge, arms up, and exhale, arms down and straighten. And just doing this a few breaths and noticing where it's stretching, what this normally feels like. And there's nothing wrong with having a nice back bend in a warrior one, but this is just a different way of approaching it. On our next inhale, hold warrior one for a couple breaths and really try to breathe into that lower rib cage. Expand and breathe like a jellyfish. And then one more inhale here and warrior two, and check in. Couple breaths here. And then straightening my front leg for triangle. Seeing if I'm even, just for experiment's sake. Breathing into my side body and accentuating the stretch by bringing my arm overhead. And then adding a little bit of a flow to it. Reaching on the inhale and bring my arm back on the exhale. And exhale. And this will be our final reach. And then bend the front knee and bring your torso back up to vertical and feet together for mountain. And just notice how this mountain is different from the one we did before we did the standing poses. We'll do one little half sun salutation to equalize everything. So inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Take a breath or two in forward fold and stretch what seems right for you. Then come into half forward fold. And forward fold again. And then go ahead and come on to the ground. And lie on your back again. We'll come to our last couple of poses before Shavasana. So I'm lying on my back, knees bent. And our last pose, or second to last pose, is a pulsed butterfly. So on my inhale, my arms are up by my side, my knees are bent, and knees and ankles are together. On my inhale, I'm gonna arc my arms overhead and open my legs in butterfly. Inhale up and flap my wings, and exhale, bring everything closed. And again, it's kind of challenging to match the inhale and exhale when you're coordinating parts of your body that have different rates. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. And one more. And sometimes you need a groin stretch after all of that. So I'm going to grab my right knee, straighten my left leg, and we're going to do a single leg twist. So I'm going to take my right knee over my body till it hits the ground, and then open my right shoulder towards the ground. And here, really focus on breathing through the twist into your waist, into your belly. Into your side and your back ribs. And then go ahead and bring both knees back up to vertical. Maybe give yourself a little self massage. And then stay holding on to your left knee. Extend your right leg out. And then bring your left knee over your body to the ground on your right side. And then open up your shoulder, your left shoulder towards the ground. And really try to breathe into your waist and ribs. Great. And then bring both knees back up into vertical for your final self massage and self hug. And then find your favorite Shavasana position, or if you'd like to, try the position that we started today with your legs up on a surface. I'd like to see just how this might be different from how we started. I'm going to sit up, but you can do whatever you want. See if you can sink into the ground. Notice if there's areas that will allow you to soften. Mm. And if you know you hold tension in a certain part of your body, maybe you can hold it with kindness, whether it chooses to release or not. Go ahead and start to lengthen your breathing again. Maybe wiggle anything that needs wiggling and stretch anything that needs stretching. And gently and kindly bring yourself back up to sitting. And the class was psoas love, and I hope you're able to find your psoas and maybe give it a little love. And I hope that you thought about breathing throughout your entire rib cage, um, which is something we sometimes don't do. So have a great rest of your week, and may the inner light in you reflect the inner light in me. Namaste, everybody.
You.
Thank you.
Bye.